Stop throwing away banana peels and stop thinking of bananas as just a quick, ordinary snack. What I'm about to share could genuinely shift the way you think about aging. And I don't say that as a catchy hook, but as a physician who has spent decades watching patients deal with issues that something as simple as a banana may have helped reduce or even prevent. The common belief is that bananas are too sweet, too starchy, or too basic to have real health value. But that belief doesn't hold up when you look at the research. And today I want to walk you through that science step by step. I'm Dr. William Lee, and if you've been here before, you already know I don't rely on hype. I rely on studies, data, and findings that often get buried under marketing, confusion, and overly simplified nutrition advice. Let's start with a major long-term study from Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. It tracked more than 100,000 adults over 24 years. The researchers discovered something striking. People who regularly consumed potassium-rich foods, bananas being one of the most accessible sources, had about a 27% lower risk of dying from cardiovascular causes compared to those with low potassium intake. That's not a minor difference. That's a significant shift in long-term heart health and survival outcomes. And I want to hint at something here. If you stay until the end, I'll share the single most surprising benefit of eating just one banana daily. It has nothing to do with energy or potassium, and most people don't believe it at first when they hear it from me or my patients. But before we get into the full breakdown, I want to ask you something directly. Write in the comments how old you are and what health concern is most important to you right now. Your energy, your joints, your memory, your heart. I read every comment. And over time, those responses shape the direction of these videos because I want this to feel like a real conversation, not just information being delivered. Today, we're going through 6 major effects of eating one banana every day, ranked from least discussed to most powerful. Starting at number 6, we need to talk about something that becomes especially important with age, the gradual weakening of the digestive system. As people move past 65, intestinal movement naturally slows down, sometimes by as much as 40%. This slower motility can lead to constipation, bloating, reduced nutrient absorption, and even inflammation that doesn't stay limited to the gut. It can influence the brain, joints, and cardiovascular system as well. Modern medicine now views the gut as far more than a digestion tube. It's closely tied to immune function and communicates with the brain through what's known as the gut-brain axis. A single banana provides around 3 grams of fiber, both soluble and insoluble, and each plays a different role. Insoluble fiber works like a natural broom, helping move waste through the intestines more efficiently, reducing the time harmful substances stay in the colon. Soluble fiber, on the other hand, acts more like a gel-forming sponge, slowing down how quickly sugar and cholesterol enter the bloodstream. This combination becomes especially important later in life because the gut microbiome tends to lose diversity with age. Research from University College Cork has shown that lower microbial diversity in older adults is linked with higher levels of frailty, inflammation, and cognitive decline. Bananas, especially slightly underripe ones with a hint of green, also contain resistant starch. This type of carbohydrate isn't fully digested in the small intestine, so it reaches the colon intact and becomes fuel for beneficial gut bacteria. In simple terms, it feeds the microbes that support digestion, immunity, mood regulation, and metabolism. Research from the Rowett Institute in Scotland found that resistant starch can increase populations of beneficial bacteria like bifidobacteria and lactobacilli within just a few weeks of regular intake. A simple way to apply this is to eat a banana in the morning with breakfast, ideally one that isn't fully ripe. Pairing it with plain Greek yogurt can further enhance gut health by combining live cultures with the prebiotic fiber from the banana. This combination can be especially helpful after antibiotic use when gut bacteria need rebuilding support. Next at number 5, we move into something many people over 60 experience firsthand: muscle cramps, rising blood pressure, and gradual cardiovascular strain. A medium banana contains about 422 milligrams of potassium, roughly 12% of the daily requirement for older adults. That might not sound like much at first, but potassium deficiency is surprisingly common, especially in older populations. Potassium is an essential electrolyte, meaning it helps control electrical activity in the body. Every heartbeat depends on a precise balance between potassium and sodium inside heart cells. When potassium levels drop too low, that electrical stability is disrupted, increasing the risk of irregular heart rhythms. Large-scale research published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology, analyzing data from over 247,000 people, found that low potassium levels were linked with a 20% higher risk of stroke and increased risk of atrial fibrillation, a common heart rhythm disorder in older adults. Beyond the heart, potassium is also crucial for muscle function. As people age, muscle loss, known as sarcopenia, begins to accelerate, leading to reduced strength, mobility issues, and slower recovery. Your muscles naturally decline by about 1 to 2% every year after the age of 65. And this isn't just a matter of physical strength. Muscle mass is deeply connected to your metabolism, bone strength, balance, and overall independence in daily life. When cramps appear, when fatigue sets in faster than before, or when your muscles don't respond with the same reliability they once did, potassium deficiency is often part of the picture. The reason older adults are especially prone to low potassium isn't just one factor. It's a combination of changes in the body. Many common blood pressure medications, especially diuretics, increase potassium loss through urine. At the same time, aging kidneys become less efficient at maintaining proper mineral balance, and the digestive system doesn't absorb nutrients as effectively as it used to. This is why getting potassium from whole foods matters so much. Natural sources like bananas provide potassium in a form that the body recognizes and uses efficiently, along with other naturally occurring compounds that support absorption. This is something isolated supplements often fail to replicate. One practical combination that can be especially effective is pairing a banana with a small handful of pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are rich in magnesium, and magnesium plays a key role in helping potassium stay inside your cells where it belongs. Together, they support both muscular function and cardiovascular stability in a more balanced way than either nutrient alone. All reference studies and sources can be found linked in the description below. Now, number 4 brings us into something far more fascinating, especially for anyone who has ever experienced those small but frustrating moments of memory loss, forgetting why you entered a room, or struggling to recall a familiar name that used to come instantly. This is about how a daily banana may support brain health as you age, and the science behind it is one of the most active areas in neuroscience today. Although the brain makes up only about 2% of body weight, it consumes nearly 20% of the body's energy. It is the most energy-demanding organ in the entire system. After 60, the brain's ability to use glucose efficiently begins to decline. Researchers at Harvard Medical School describe this as a form of reduced cerebral insulin sensitivity, where brain cells gradually become less responsive to their main fuel source even when glucose is available in the blood. Over time, this reduced efficiency can contribute to mental fatigue, slower thinking, and memory lapses that many people associate with aging. Bananas contain an important nutrient called vitamin B6, or pyridoxine, and a single banana can provide roughly 20 to 25% of the daily requirement for older adults. This matters because vitamin B6 is essential for producing key neurotransmitters in the brain: serotonin, dopamine, and GABA. These neurotransmitters act as chemical messengers between brain cells. Serotonin helps regulate mood and sleep. Dopamine influences motivation and focus, and GABA supports calmness by preventing overactivity in the nervous system. Without enough B6, this communication system becomes less efficient, which can affect mood stability, mental clarity, and sleep quality. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that older adults with higher vitamin B6 intake performed better in memory, attention, and processing speed tests compared to those with lower intake. Even small improvements in B6 status were linked with measurable differences in cognitive aging over time. Bananas also contain tryptophan, an amino acid that the body uses to produce serotonin. This is one reason many people feel calmer or more relaxed after eating a banana, especially later in the day. As people age, sleep patterns naturally change. Deep sleep becomes shorter and more fragmented, which can affect memory consolidation, immune health, and overall recovery. Nutrients that support natural serotonin production can therefore play a meaningful role in improving sleep quality without medication. A simple pairing that may enhance this effect is a banana with green tea. Green tea contains L-theanine, an amino acid known for promoting a calm but alert mental state. Combined with the tryptophan in bananas, this creates a balanced effect of relaxation without drowsiness. In Japan, where green tea is regularly consumed and studied extensively, researchers have observed interesting patterns in cognitive aging, particularly in populations with long-term dietary habits that include both polyphenols and amino acid-rich foods. Before we move to number 3, if this information is helpful to you, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to The Weird Lab. It helps more people access science-based explanations like this in a simple, practical form. Now, number 3 is where things become even more important because this benefit affects almost every aspect of aging at once, and yet it is rarely discussed in connection with everyday foods like bananas. This is about chronic inflammation. Inside the body, there is a slow, persistent process of immune overactivity that many researchers refer to as inflammaging. It is a low-grade but continuous inflammatory state that increases with age and is now considered one of the primary drivers behind conditions such as arthritis, heart disease, diabetes, and even certain cancers. After 65, the body's ability to regulate inflammation becomes less precise. As a result, inflammatory signals may remain active even when there is no real threat present. One important factor in controlling this process is the production of short-chain fatty acids in the gut. This is where bananas become relevant again. Their resistant starch feeds beneficial gut bacteria, which then ferment it and produce compounds like butyrate. Butyrate is a powerful anti-inflammatory molecule. It helps regulate gene activity linked to inflammation by influencing cellular signaling pathways such as NF-kappa B, which controls the expression of many inflammatory responses in the body. When this pathway becomes overactive, it contributes to aging-related tissue damage and disease progression. Studies, including research from the Salk Institute, have shown that butyrate production is associated with reduced inflammation markers such as C-reactive protein and improved cellular health in experimental models. Bananas also provide antioxidant compounds, including dopamine in its plant-based antioxidant form, which helps neutralize oxidative stress in the bloodstream. This process plays a role in preventing the damage of lipids like cholesterol, which can contribute to plaque buildup in arteries over time. A study from the Food Science and Technology Research Institute found that bananas have measurable antioxidant activity, supporting their role in reducing oxidative stress alongside other nutrient-dense foods. To understand this in real life, consider one patient experience. A 71-year-old woman with severe rheumatoid arthritis experienced intense morning stiffness and fatigue that limited her daily life. After consistent dietary adjustments over several months, including a daily banana paired with walnuts and ginger tea, her inflammation marker, CRP, dropped significantly and her morning stiffness reduced from over an hour to just minutes. More importantly, her quality of life improved enough for her to re-engage socially and return to activities she had stopped. This isn't about one food acting as a cure. It's about how consistent nutritional support can influence multiple biological pathways at once. A simple supportive combination is banana with ginger. Ginger contains active compounds like gingerol and shogaol, which are widely studied for their anti-inflammatory effects. When combined with the gut and antioxidant benefits of bananas, this creates a multi-pathway approach to reducing inflammation. Now, number 2 shifts the conversation again, this time into something many people assume they already understand, but often don't: blood sugar regulation. And before you assume bananas automatically spike blood sugar, the science is more nuanced than that. Yes, bananas contain natural sugars. A fully ripe banana has a moderate glycemic index, lower than many processed breakfast foods like white bread or refined cereals. But what matters even more is the glycemic load, which depends on portion size and how quickly carbohydrates enter the bloodstream. A single medium banana has a glycemic load of around 11, which most metabolic researchers classify as moderate, and for the vast majority of adults, including many people with prediabetes, it can be perfectly manageable when eaten as part of a balanced meal or paired with other nutrients. Even more important is what we already discussed earlier, the role of resistant starch in slightly underripe bananas. This form of carbohydrate is not broken down in the small intestine, which means it doesn't directly trigger a significant insulin response or rapid rise in blood glucose. It passes through to the colon largely intact, where it behaves very differently from regular starch. Research published in Nutrition and Metabolism showed that resistant starch can improve insulin sensitivity in adults with metabolic syndrome by roughly 33% over an 8-week period. That is a substantial metabolic shift, especially for older adults, where insulin sensitivity naturally declines with age. After 60, this decline is driven by several overlapping factors: loss of muscle mass, reduced physical activity, mitochondrial inefficiency, where the cell's energy-producing structures become less effective, and persistent low-grade inflammation. Together, these changes create a cycle. Less muscle means less glucose storage capacity, which forces greater reliance on insulin, which in turn increases metabolic strain over time. A slightly underripe banana, especially when combined with protein, can help interrupt this cycle. The fiber and resistant starch slow gastric emptying, meaning food leaves the stomach more gradually. This produces a flatter, more stable blood sugar response instead of sharp spikes followed by crashes. A study from the University of Toronto, published in Diabetes Care, found that meals containing resistant starch alongside lean protein reduced post-meal blood glucose spikes by up to 29% compared to similar meals without resistant starch. That kind of reduction is not trivial. Over months and years, it can significantly reduce stress on blood vessels, kidneys, and nerves, especially in people with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. The practical takeaway is simple. Don't eat your banana alone on an empty stomach if metabolic control is your goal. Pair it with protein and healthy fat. Options like almond butter, mixed nuts, or even eggs can slow glucose absorption further and improve satiety, helping you stay full longer and avoid unnecessary snacking later. Timing also matters. Morning consumption, as part of a structured breakfast, tends to produce more stable energy and glucose responses than eating it in isolation during the day. And when possible, choosing slightly underripe bananas can offer additional metabolic benefits. I also want to share a real case example. A 74-year-old retired engineer named Robert came in with an HbA1c of 6.8%, placing him in the pre-diabetic range along with a strong family history of type 2 diabetes. His doctor had already suggested medication, but he wanted to try dietary changes first. Over the course of 6 months, he made consistent adjustments to his diet, including one slightly underripe banana each morning paired with almond butter and eggs. Over time, his HbA1c dropped to 5.9%, bringing it back into the normal range, and his physician decided medication was no longer necessary. More importantly, he maintained those habits and stayed active, walking daily and managing his health without pharmacological support. And now we reach number 1. This is the benefit of daily banana consumption that most people never expect. It has nothing to do with potassium, energy, or even digestion in the way most people think about it. Instead, it relates to something far more fundamental in aging biology, the preservation of muscle and bone through improved magnesium-dependent cellular function. A single banana contains roughly 32 milligrams of magnesium. That number alone doesn't sound dramatic, but magnesium plays a central role in over 300 enzymatic processes in the human body. Its importance becomes especially critical after 65, when the body begins to experience what scientists call anabolic resistance. Anabolic resistance refers to the reduced ability of aging muscles to build and repair themselves in response to protein intake and physical activity. In younger adults, protein intake efficiently triggers muscle protein synthesis. After 65, this response can decline by 35 to 40%, and it continues to worsen with age. Magnesium is deeply involved in reversing parts of this limitation. It supports the activation of IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, a key anabolic hormone involved in muscle growth. It is also required for ribosomal activity, which is responsible for assembling proteins inside cells, and for ATP production, the molecule that provides energy for virtually every cellular function. Without sufficient magnesium, muscle cells struggle to generate energy, repair damage, and maintain strength. Over time, this contributes to weakness, reduced mobility, and loss of independence. A long-term study from the University of Palermo in Italy followed over 1,600 adults aged 65 and older for 4 years. It found that those with higher magnesium intake had significantly better grip strength, faster walking speed, and improved lower body function compared to those with lower intake. They also showed higher bone mineral density, which is critical because bone loss accelerates after 65 and dramatically increases fracture risk. What makes bananas especially interesting is that their magnesium doesn't act in isolation. They also contain vitamin B6, which enhances magnesium absorption in the gut. In addition, banana-derived fibers and fructooligosaccharides help improve mineral uptake by supporting a gut environment that favors absorption. In other words, the magnesium in a banana is not just present, it is biologically supported by the fruit's overall nutrient structure in a way that improves its usability in the body. A simple synergistic pairing is a banana with fatty fish like salmon or sardines. Omega-3 fatty acids in these foods help reduce systemic inflammation, which is one of the key drivers of anabolic resistance. Lower inflammation improves how muscle cells respond to protein intake and physical activity. When you combine reduced inflammation, adequate magnesium, and consistent resistance training, the results become even more powerful. Research from Tufts University has shown that even in older adults, structured resistance exercise combined with proper nutrition can not just slow muscle loss, but partially reverse it, even into the 70s and 80s. And that is the key point. Aging is not a single downward path that cannot be influenced. It is a biological process shaped by inputs, nutrition, activity, and lifestyle choices that can meaningfully shift outcomes over time. One banana a day is not a miracle cure, and it is not being presented as one. But it is a simple, affordable, and evidence-supported food that contributes to multiple systems in the body at once: metabolic, muscular, cardiovascular, and neurological. The broader message here is not about bananas alone. It is about rejecting the idea that decline is fully fixed after a certain age. The science increasingly shows that many aspects of aging can be influenced, supported, and in some cases improved. If this information was useful to you, subscribe to the Weird Lab for more evidence-based health content explained in clear, practical language. And I'll leave you with a question. Have you ever been told to avoid bananas for health reasons? Who told you, and what was the reasoning?